All right, guys, Howard Ross here with Franklin Brewing. As you can see, I'm here with JJ Vicars. How you doing, JJ?
All right, how you doing, Howard?
Good. Thanks for coming out to play tonight. Are you familiar with Grafton at all? Have you ever been to this part of town?
No, it's my first time playing here.
First time. Are you familiar with the area at all?
Nope, first time playing here.
Anywhere in Lorraine County?
Probably, but after so many years, they all sort of blur together.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're one of the few places that you can actually see live music here in Grafton, and Grafton's first brewery, actually. Just want to kind of ask you some questions. How and when did you get your start playing music, playing the blues and guitar and all that?
Well, I grew up in a musician family, and my folks grew up in the 50s, so in the car radio, they always had a lot of early rock and roll on. Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Buddy Holly, Little Richard, Fats Domino, all that stuff. And then at home they were listening to a lot of jazz, especially organ trio jazz.
Gotcha.
So that sunk in real early. And I just couldn't see myself doing much of anything else. And I started out on drums. I played in marching band and I played in jazz band behind the kit and all that. But it was a good training ground, but it was just a stepping stone.
Gotcha.
And I was probably about 13 or 14 when I first picked up guitar and said, well, okay, I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing this.
So, and who would you say your influences are? Like who? Buddy Guy, blues guys, B.B. King, that kind of thing, or?
Well, the textbook is Lightnin' Hopkins, Freddie King, T-Bone Walker, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Magic Sam, Ike Turner. Those are like the real textbook guys right there. John Lee Hooker and Muddy Waters, of course. Alan Wolf. The first Thunderbirds record was one of the albums that I learned to play off.
Gotcha.
We used to learn by, figuring stuff out off the records by ear.
I play guitar too. I don't know if we talked about that also. Same thing here.
Yeah, so the old-fashioned method of doing it. Very painstaking method, but very
Picking
good
up the needle,
training.
putting it back on the record, doing it again, or with the cassette.
Yeah, that first Thunderbirds record, that was it was a real textbook. Everything on there was pretty easy to pick up, and it spanned a lot of different styles, and it was in a 4-piece instrumentation, so you could hear exactly what the guitar was doing. Whereas like some of the Chicago stuff, I always liked it, but I didn't really figure out what they were doing until after I'd been playing for quite a few years because of the way they weave in and out of each other. I couldn't really pick it out. So
Gotcha.
Jimmy was easier.
Yeah. And you're not originally from this area, we were talking before.
No, I grew up in Houston.
And how long have you been in this area?
I've been here for about 10 years now. I was overseas for a while and I came back rather suddenly. And I was down south near Canton for a while. And it was, I had some family down there, so that was my landing ground. And just kind of settled in. And then last year I moved up to Cleveland.
What brought you to Cleveland?
Just a lot of personal changes.
Gotcha. And is music like full-time for you, or do you have the typical day job and then music is a hobby? Or
no, music is my main vocation. Recently I had taken some time off because of the move and some of the personal stuff behind that, and so I'm just now getting back into it again. And it's kind of nice to hit the reset button every so often.
Gotcha. So, what are the future plans? What are you looking to do in the future? New music, writing, continue to play gigs?
Well, playing gigs is always on the table. I like to eat. I've been working on an instrumental record right now. We've been kind of working off and on for about probably a couple of years, longer, depending how you look at it. It'll be the seventh album, not counting any side projects and singles and all that. After that one, I don't know if I'm really going to be doing much recording. I mean, if I get enough tunes together, I'll knock something out. But with streaming and all that kind of stuff, it really just becomes an expensive business card. It's not, it's not the full-blown, hey, we're making an album thing that it once was. So, time to move on.
Gotcha. And when do you think you'll be putting some music out? or like your instrumental? Is that going to be like blues tinged, or
whenever we get it done?
Gotcha,
We
gotcha.
the thing about making albums, I approach an album as an album. So just simply banging out a few tunes and putting it out there doesn't really cut it for me. It's something that's going to be out there forever, so you want it done right. So that means a lot of attention to detail, and it's not uncommon for me to, record a song 3 or 4 times before I finally get that one recording that we're going to use. And I'm not talking about 3 or 4 takes at a session. I'm talking about three or four completely different sessions, often with different personnel.
Gotcha.
So this one is dragging out just like the others.
It seems to be, yeah, I get that a lot from people that I talk to that come and play. Do you have a studio set up to go into yet, or is that still?
I've been working with a friend of mine. He's got a studio called Good Sound Waves. And the studio itself, he's only got one isolation booth, and it's pretty small. So we've been doing location recording, where I'll find a really cool room, like someplace with a high ceiling, thing, someplace that has really good acoustics, and then he'll take the mobile board out, and we'll track me and the rhythm section live there. Okay. And then whatever overdubs we do, we'll do in the studio there, because we don't need the whole room. We're just running one amp at a time, that sort of thing. But the main tracking is all being done live on location.
The way they used to do it, right?
Yeah.
So when you say rhythm section, is that bass and drums or percussion?
Yeah. Bass and drums, yeah.
And a trio format?
When I'm gigging with the band, it's a trio format. I've tried to expand to 4-piece a few times, but
that's too many cooks. I'm working on a power trio myself. So
well, on my gig, I'm the only cook in the kitchen.
Right.
The ship has to have a captain, or
right.
It meanders. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't work out. I really wanted to add a keyboard in there, but it just didn't work out. So the trio instrumentation is where it stayed with. But when I'm recording, the song dictates the instrumentation. So, for example, there's one tune on this album. It's called Twistin' and Turnin'. It's got a horn section of tenor sax and baritone sax, and it's also got a piano on it as well. Obviously, if I'm playing the tune on the gig, it's just going to be the trio. It's not going to have that. I mean, it's okay. It works on the gig, the immediacy of the moment. But on a recording, something that's going to be played again and again and again, whatever the song needs dictates the instrumentation.
Do you find when you're playing, see, I've always been in 4-piece bands, and I've had other guitar players and keys, but now working with this power trio, there's a certain air that I like about being in a trio. But of course, your bass player and drummer have to know how to fill that space.
Yeah, the way I approach a trio is, you mentioned power trio, which often refers to something like Cream or the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Yeah, I'm going down
like
that rock vein.
Yeah, the way I approach it is more of it's not a power trio format. It's just a stripped down format. So you don't have the bass and the drums playing so busy, taking the bass player's not doing a Jack Bruce kind of thing. Put it that way. However, that being said, because it is a sparse instrumentation, you do need to fill it up a little bit more. And like with any other instrumentation, you still want to pay attention to the finer details of the arrangements. That's something that I stress to the rhythm section all the time, is that, we're not just jamming these, we're playing arrangements. Mm-hmm. So, for example, not playing fills during the vocal, keeping the parts simple behind the vocal, stretching out a little bit more when you go into the solos, that sort of thing.
Everything, you got to have that balance. Everything has to fall into place, and sometimes you don't want to step on each other's toes, regardless of who's doing what.
And you especially don't want to step on the vocal.
Definitely.
That's the big no-no.
Yes. So tonight, what can people expect here at Front and Front?
Well, tonight I'm going to be rambling through my album catalog somewhat at random.
Okay.
This is being a all-original venue. and be having the 6 albums and all the side projects, I thought, well, this would be the perfect opportunity to do so. So
Perfect.
I don't know if I'm gonna, originally I was gonna go in kind of a sequential order just because that's how I wrote out the list, but now I'm thinking of jumping around the list. And really,
Going with the flow, going with the moment.
yeah, that's pretty much what I wind up doing anyhow.
Okay.
You know, you read the audience, and wherever that mood is at, you go with that.
Okay. Sounds good, everybody. JJ Vicars here at Franklin Brewing. Thanks for the talk.
Thank you for having me.